They say that when one hears the cosmic note, all questions are answered. But you're not going to hear it out of this thing today, let me tell you. I obviously got a warped one somehow. Anyway, welcome, my friends, to the TAO of Danny. Now, what is this? I'll tell you. It's a podcast YouTube series that I'm going to be doing in addition to my regular podcast and YouTube series, The Bucklerverse. But this one is very, very different. So I'll tell you how it came about. Before I do that, though, if you really want enlightenment in this lifetime, guaranteed, there is a very simple magical gesture one can make right now, and that is to simply press the subscribe button or the like button. Either of those will give you an instant lift of endorphins, doubled if one hits the bell to let one know when the new episode's coming. So, my podcast, The Bucklerverse, I started doing it because I wanted to be a better comedian, basically, and it's just me riffing for half an hour about nerdy stuff, comic books, movies, lots of Batman, and things of this nature, things that I'm into, things that I'm interested in. But I would often go off onto these little metaphysical divergences because I've got a personality disorder and it's very hard to stay on one topic and people find it entertaining, and I go down these mystical rabbit holes. Now, I've reined in the mystical rabbit holes because I had people saying to me, listen, mate, stick to the bat chat. But I had other people saying to me, we want more of that stuff. You know what I mean? That's the stuff we're here for. Where's it gone? So this is what I'm doing now. The Bucklerverse is still my comedy podcast. Subscribe to it if you haven't already. If you like comic books, movies, fun, that's there for you. But this one's going to be the same thing, but I'm going to focus on more metaphysical content. I'm going to be talking about things I've done. This is the culmination of a 30-year quest. More than 30 years. I mean, and seriously, I've done the stuff. Do you know what I mean? This is not like I've not done a few courses. I have done a few courses, but I've not just done a few courses. You know, I've travelled around the world. I've hung out with some heavyweights. I'll be talking all about them over the coming weeks. Some amazing people. Amazing healers. Amazing magicians. Sorcerers. You know, I've really gone into this, and I want to talk to you about it. They're great stories. They're fun. They're funny. You're going to enjoy it. I'm also going to be talking about stuff that practical stuff, meditation methods. I'm going to be going into that, different areas of exploration. But let me just take a few seconds right now to savour that incense I'm burning. Oh, it comes from the Chakra Room's Ram's Bottom, and let me tell you, if you're looking for incense, that's the place to go. They sell the best stuff in the world. It burns slow. The smell is rich. It's worth it. Get on there. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. So I hope you're going to join me for this. If you've not switched off already, because I know what your attention span is like. You start YouTubing. Don't look at the analytics, mate. It'll put you right off. Trust me, 90% of the listeners gone in the first 30 seconds. But the cool kids like you stick around. So where shall I start this? It's a brand new venture. What's the first episode going to be about? I'm going to start. That's the other thing. Truth, honesty, I'm going to call out bullshit when I see it, and I'm going to lay on you everything I talk about on here. I have either done or am doing. It's either part of my current practice or it has been in the past and has yielded results, practical, tangible results, benefits to my own mental health, which takes some managing. I'm not going to lie about that either. I've got some issues. Neurological ones in the brain. Now, I'm not after sympathy, but the thing is, if these things work for me, the way I'm wired, they'll work for you, trust me. Or maybe you're wired like me, maybe that's why you're in which case, welcome, you're not alone. We're all wired differently. There is no mad, there is no normal, there's just different degrees of different sets of wiring. Oh, that's the R.D. Lang influence starting to come through there already. And I might get some guests on this particular show. This is very much a getting to know you episode. But, you know, in future episodes, I might even get some guests on for this one. The Bucklerverse is solo riffing. This will be an awful lot of solo riffing. But there's people that I want to introduce you to, that I know, that are wonderful, that are incredible, that I want to talk to. And there'll be some big hitters coming up. So, yeah, do stick around this place. So how am I going to start? I'll start where you're at. Always talk from where you are. Talk from what's happening now, because that is literally all there is. talk from the oneness with the Tao. And I've been dealing with some stuff lately, and I have been dealing with it, and I won't tell you what the stuff is, but I will give you the method I've been using that has yielded some very, very good results for me, and is in fact the reason I'm sitting here, because I've just lost... Whoop, there goes my statue. I've just lost a week to this. A triggering event occurred in the old Bucklerverse. A triggering thing happened. Somebody said something to me about 3 weeks ago, very cruel, not thinking, they've got their own head full of mess. But it did send me down a bit of a spiral. It's to do with the time of year and stuff that's happening in show business, and the person who said it is who they are. They're lovely, but they occasionally can be a little cruel without realising. And they said this thing, and it sparked off, didn't it? It sparked off the old Buckler personality disorder, the skits. It kicked in. Negative thoughts just started rising out of this one depth bomb, repressed stuff that's not real. Thought is not real. Thought is thought. I'll be getting more into this stuff as we go along over the coming, weeks. Do stick around. But it creates thought creates a lens through which we perceive what is, and if those thoughts are negative, we're looking through that lens, and what is will appear to be negative, even if it isn't necessarily, or more negative than it should. In my case, like if I took these sunglasses, these rose-coloured sunglasses, if I took my tinted lenses off that I wear because of the bright lights, basically, because that sets me going. And it's a fashion statement. Why am I even justifying it? There you go, right away. Oh, let me just justify why I'm wearing tinted glasses. I wear them because I like them. There you go. They look cool. That incense. So, negative. If I took these glasses off and I dipped them in shit, and then I put them back on again, I'm looking through shit. Everything will look like shit. Does that make sense? But if I clean the lenses, I'm back to looking at the world, and everything has a lovely purplish glow to it. So, realising this is what was happening, having lost a couple of days to it, I can't lie, because, the whole neurology gets involved then, and it's a big deal. I can't get out of bed. But realising this is what was happening... I had a tool with which to deal with it, and I would share that tool with you now for the first episode. Something you can actually use, something you can do. I'll even guide us through it in a minute. And it's a tool that comes from Bruce Lee. Yeah, I know, right? Now, it's not a punch. I was still am massively into Bruce Lee, but I was really massively into him about 10, 15 years ago. I mean, I used to read all his books. His books are very interesting because he didn't write them. What he did was he kept copious amounts of notes for his own mental well-being, as well as his physicality, as well as his fitness stuff, his spirituality, his investigations into the mind, into positivity, into everything. And he kept copious amounts of notes. And when he died, those notes were compiled into various volumes and they were published. So his books are actually his notes. It's an interesting read because they weren't written for publication. They were written for him to remind himself. Which is why you get some quotes misattributed to him, because he was very into Krishnamurti and he was very into Alan Watts. In fact, reading Bruce Lee was the first time I ever heard Alan Watts' name. I'm going way back here. This was before the internet. This was back in the days. I was in London. I was learning Kung Fu off an absolute master named Steve Jones, who still teaches now in West London. Check him out. BMS Martial Art. Give it a Google. You'll not find better. And you'll not find more authentic teaching than that, if it's Kung Fu is your bag. And I was reading a lot of Bruce Lee at the time. It was the first time I'd been about 19. The first time I saw Alan Watts' name was in Bruce Lee's notes, and that led to another line of investigation. And it's a rabbit hole once you go down it. Because that's what this podcast is going to be about. Taoism, Zen, non-duality, and an awful lot of that. Kashmir Shaivism, and but magic as well. The magic stuff that I've looked into over the years, the Huna, the things I've studied, and I do mean studied. This is not coming from. I mean, I've lived these things. I've travelled to these places, And yes, Where was I? Back on track. So I'm reading Bruce Lee's notes, and this appeared. This is I'll read it to you. I'll read to you exactly what he wrote, and then I'll talk you through what I do, which is what I got from it. And if you want to give it a try, you can do it. Do you know what? If you listen to the audio version of this, I'm holding a bamboo flute that I literally I can't play the bloody thing, but for some reason there's a certain satisfaction to having a stick in your hand that I cannot put into words. But there is something about swinging around a stick. I totally get now why when Alan Watts would do his talks, he would hold a fan, or he would hold something, or a big cheroot, but he'd have something to swing about to make his points. I might be taking this bamboo flute down the street with me later. This could become a permanent fixture in the Buckles fashion arsenal. Me and David Carradine carrying our bamboo flutes. Right. Let me just reach over the Zen duck so I can get you this quote as it actually is. This is Bruce Lee himself's writings. This is what I read. And it's stuck in my head. And I read this 25, maybe even 30 years ago. Yeah, maybe 30 years ago. It would have been Jesus. But I never did it. Like this is the thing. You'll get more out of one thing you actually do than 1,000 things that you read. Never did it. And then I was dealing with automatic negative thoughts arising from a triggering event. That wasn't intended, by the way. It's just what happened. And I was having a hard time dealing with them. And I remembered this, and I did it, and it worked like a charm. It was beautiful. I'll share it with you now. First, Bruce Lee's method. Hang on a second. As he wrote it. This is the note that he wrote. By the way, I do a very good impression of Bruce Lee. And I am not going to do it now because I do not need that cyber kicking. It's not appropriate anymore. But trust me, I do have skills. So, I have a system of ridding my mind of negative thoughts. I visualize myself writing them down on a piece of paper. Then, I imagine myself crumpling up the paper, lighting it on fire, and burning it to a crisp. That was his system. Simple as that. One sentence. One sentence in one of his books. It might be the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. I'm not sure I read that, but it's one sentence. And it works. It works beautifully. And I have theories about why it works. I'll share them with you in a minute. But do you want to do a little bit of that? Let's have a go. If you're driving, I'm going to do a little thing. I'm going to do a little guided meditation. So if you're driving, please don't do this when you're driving. Use your common sense. Wait till you get home. You're in your room. But let's say something's happened. Let's say the negative thoughts are flowing. A triggering event has happened out there. Something minor, but it's sent you down a spiral. You know? Because sadness is an appropriate response to certain things out there, but this is not appropriate. My response was disproportionate to what happened. I've got automatic negative thoughts happening there. They're clouding the view. They are between me and the Tao itself. Ultimately, they are the Tao itself because everything is the Tao and all there is what's happening right now. But that's a bit much for a first episode. So I'm sitting there. Negative thoughts be flowing. I don't want them. They're not true. They're not true. And they're also hampering the action. So I sit down. Now, sometimes when I do this, I genuinely will light a candle and I'll do it eyes open. And I'll visualize it actually happening out there, which creates a different effect. If I haven't got an actual candle, I will close my eyes and I will imagine a candle. And I do it in my imagination. Both powerful. And sometimes I'll imagine the candle with my eyes open. I'm quite good at that. It's like giving reality an overlay, you know? Taking the mind and putting it out there where you can see it. It's quite an interesting magic principle there. But anyway, for the sake of this, don't be driving when you're doing it. You're sitting indoors, you're warm, you're comfortable, you're safe, and you're not in control of a vehicle. I can't stress that enough. So, you sit, you close your eyes, and you allow just for a few minutes, those thoughts that are bugging you, they're arising. I'm not good enough. Why doesn't it ever go my way? Why can't people see how talented I am? I'm rubbish, I'm crap, all these things. Whoom. You visualise your candle. Don't worry about getting this perfect photographic visualisation. We'll talk more about visualization on future episodes. But for now, just having the sense that there's a candle there is enough. Or if you're lucky enough to be able to visualize perfectly, there it is. And then you visualize a piece of parchment floating between you and said candle. And on the parchment, the first negative thought that arrives, you see it, you literally see it written down on that bit of parchment. I'm not good enough. There it is, written down. You then imagine that you're taking that piece of paper, touching it to the candle flame and gone. Wait for the next one, which could be the same one again. These things repeat. I'm not good enough. Write it down again. Into the candle. Repetition. Repetition is important. Repetition and application. Negative thought. Why does it never go my way? Written down. Into the flame. Negative thought. Why isn't this working out for me? Parchment. Written down. Into the flame. And breathing all the time that you're doing it. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Low and slow. Deep breathing. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. And just do that. Give it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, as long as you like. But just be burning them negative thoughts. Burning the negative thoughts. Well, I just knocked over my Shiva statue. So, you try and dress a set to make it look appropriate and all your creator issues. The flute's staying. So, a powerful method. I did it. I sat down. I did it. I give it a good half an hour because the thoughts repeat. They repeat. And this is doing several things at once in my I mean, that's what Bruce Lee wrote. Here's what I think may be going on. First of all, you're establishing yourself as the witness, not the thoughts. In order to visualize the thoughts in that manner, in order to see them first of all, and then to see them written down, who is the one that is seeing them written down? The witness. You're immediately going into a witness consciousness. You are not your thoughts. You are the witness of them. But this is establishing that. It's establishing a level of separation between the witness and the thoughts. You can see, when they're written down like that, you can see you are not them. You are observing them. That's the first thing, and that's a powerful position. The witness is always the most powerful position in the room. Until you can dissolve that. Again, we'll get into this later. A bit heavy for the first episode. But we'll be getting into a full awakening. And what that means. But if for now, you establish yourself as a witness, you're also, by visualizing the candle, visualizing the parchment, visualizing it written down, you are turning on a different part of your brain, the verbal part that's jabbering away. The verbal part's attacking you. The verbal part's giving you grief. But by visualizing, you're turning on the non-verbal part. The other side of the equation, the right brain, the creative brain. It speaks in pictures. It's asleep while that verbal one is raving. But once you start to visualize, it turns on. And when it turns on, it's again, different parts of the brain, different centers are being, literally, neurologically, are being turned on, creating another level of separation between you and these negative thoughts. And as I say, repetition. If you're plagued by negative thoughts, repeat. That whole school of one and done, that NLP thing that I can cure your phobia in 30 seconds. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I've never seen it outside of a demonstration at a workshop where someone's been on the stage and apparently cured some of their fear of spiders in 30 seconds. But you never see that person when they get home. You don't know if that's actually happened. But my personal experience in these things is it's not one and done. It does take a bit of effort. But even that, this is the other thing. The act of sitting down, the act of either lighting a candle or imagining one is taking you off automatic and it's putting you back in the driver's seat. It's turning on a different part of you. Just that is a great, to shift a depression. Nothing shifts a depression like action. But when you're depressed, you can't take action. Yes, you're in it. And when you're in it, you can't see a way out. Christ, I know. But when you just that simple, I'm going to sit and I'm going to do this for 20 minutes. And you can, if you've got the energy to get out of bed, you've got the energy to sit up. You've got the energy to imagine a candle, and that will start. It will start to draw you out of it. So this has become a regular ritual for me, a regular piece of magic that I do to rid myself of negative thoughts when they plague me and to enable me to move forward and make things, create things, do things in the world, such as this podcast, which is going to be a right ride. Please do stick around. Do stick around. We're going to go into all sorts on here. And there we are. That's the story of that. That's the first episode of the TAO of Danny. We'll be exploring all sorts, my friends, over the coming weeks. We'll be looking at magic, breath work, non-duality, Zen, anything that I've studied or worked with, and all coming from where I am right now as a real person, not a guru figure, not sitting here all holier than thou and, hey guys, my life's all sorted out. My life is not sorted out, but I do practice these things. They make it flow. They make it work. I'm bumbling my way through just like you, but I've got some stuff to share and I'm going to share it on here. And I thank you for your attention, the most valuable thing you can ever give a human being. And I will see you on the very next episode of the TAO of Danny.